this is completely subjective and just my opinion. I don't think we're going to see leak rates that low today, but I don't think it's going to be alarmingly high, assuming all goes well. I mean, they went into LH2 fast fill ahead of schedule. That is an incredibly promising sign. We have to say that that is an incredibly promising sign of or just being ahead of schedule in general. That's what we want. And hopefully, the leak rate stays below a certain margin to keep everybody happy. And also, as a reminder, their cutoff is 16% leak concentration before they had to immediately call off and abort operations. So I didn't say the S word. Not going to say the S word, but yeah, I
Like
think
scubbed?
scubbed. Yes, scubbed. You're right. Yes, CJ scubbed. Um, but yeah, I think again, like I was saying earlier, everything is
Testing, one, two,
pointing
three.
towards smooth operations and a good outcome
Testing,
from
1, 2, 3.
today's targets. So hopefully this all continues.
Under 9 hours and 15 minutes now. Things are getting real. Things are getting really, really real. And, starting to get the feels with actual prop being loaded onto the core stage. Once again, things are getting exciting. This is when things get real. I mean, you can't exactly tell from the outside. I guess you can see some venting, but apart from that, you can't exactly tell from the outside. But trust me, inside of those tanks, things are getting real. We just passed 9 o'clock in the morning local time. Julia, I'm going to ask you once again, how are things looking from your location in Titusville? How are the crowds? How's the traffic? How are things going? Because we have some people in chat who are in Florida in person and they want to know what's happening, where should they be going, how's the traffic, have they already lost a spot?
You haven't already lost the spot yet. Traffic is still flowing well on US 1. I am located
Hey, thank you very
basically
much.
center of US 1 at Dogs R Us to give you a perspective, and traffic is flowing just fine here. I can tell now that our morning rush hour for school and work has ended, and we are into day to day traffic, which isn't entirely too heavy considering. With that being said, I can start at the north and tell you there is still parking at Sandpoint Park, which is adjacent to the west end of the Max Brewer Bridge, that highly sought after area for viewing because you are elevated. Florida is flat, and that's a great spot to catch it from an elevated point of view, right? Um, there is still parking available there. I wouldn't even try to venture to go over the bridge, to be honest, at this point. Stay on the west side and walk up. The next kind of area is Space View Park. That had already basically filled Parkside parking
Right,
and
let's
on the
get a
street by
going.
time I had gone past this morning before getting to my spot. So be prepared if you want that point of view on the water. We'll be walking from street parking. There is parking available in restaurant parking lots, mall parking lots, the Titusville Mall, um, as well as a bit of free parking yet along the coast that I can see. Um,
Right.
bring some cash. Now, what I have been told is it's still
Artemis.
flowing. I'm gonna toss to Max after this, but as far as I can tell, we're still flowing over the NASA causeway. But Max, can you tell me what your commute was like and what visitors should expect as they approach the NASA causeway on their way here?
Yeah, so I came in through the most northern route to get into the Kennedy Space Center. I came over the Max Brewer Bridge from Titusville. Um, and so there was actually an extra security checkpoint from KSC law enforcement
Bag
just
numero
after the bridge on the
uno.
east side of the bridge. And if you did not have a badge for KSC, you had that was your endpoint. That you could not go any farther. So of course, obviously, with us being credentialed, I then drove towards what would have been Playa Linda Beach, and then made a right towards KSC's North Gate. And honestly, I mean, I came over at about maybe 4:45 this morning. It
Perfect.
wasn't bad. It really wasn't. I mean, I only had a handful of workers that were in front of me who also went through the checkpoint and carried on through. Traffic wasn't backed up at all. There weren't people lined up on the Max Brewer Bridge yet. Although I have been seeing some photos from personnel on social media who are on the Max Brewer Bridge as of a couple of hours ago, and it looks like it is beginning to fill up rather quickly. So, at least at 4:45 this morning, the drive was absolutely fine, and so was getting around Titusville itself. Now,
Oh,
I
so
go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say you took the easy way in,
I
or
did.
the NASA Causeway side. I didn't see when we like left the press site last night. They weren't set up, but I do want to
Yep.
forewarn anyone heading toward the visitor center or into work at KSC. Traditionally, during large launches, if you're coming from Merritt Island on Highway 3, there will be a checkpoint very much like the one Max had to go through this morning. And if you are not badged for KSC or you do not have a visitor center ticket, they will not let you through and they're going to turn you around. Same thing happens on the west side of the Kennedy um, NASA Causeway coming from Titusville. You're going to see that at what I now call the convoy lot on my social media, where the park, it used to be an old badge press site. And originally, that was actually where TWA would take locals to go to KSC for the original bus tour before we had a visitor center on site. So that is where you'll expect traffic to probably start backing up off of the main throughways like 528 from Orlando and I-95.
Yes.
And my guess is that's probably, Max, you think the biggest snag right now is probably right there.
Probably. It's only going to get worse as the day goes on, I do have to say, unfortunately. But it is worth noting again that on days like today, security is taken on a very high priority level, if not the most high priority level that there could possibly be for a facility like the Kennedy Space Center. I mean, we've already had multiple checkpoints just to get in today. KSC law enforcement is, of course, around, making sure everyone is happy and safe. And then, of course, when we go to crew walkout here in a few hours, there's actually going to be a SWAT team there as well, and a separate checkpoint in making sure your name is on a list to even enter the area. Like it is taken incredibly seriously, and rightly so. Um, so yeah, there is lots to take into consideration here today, not just on KSC grounds for workers and press, but also those in the general public outside the Kennedy Space Center along US 1, along the river, or even going all the way down to Cocoa Beach and Port Canaveral as well. So, but either way, given how big the rocket is and where it is going, I don't think there is going to be a bad seat in the house today.
I'm going to look through more questions here because we have gotten so many questions. A stupendous number of questions, an incredible number of
Stupendous.
questions. Thank you everybody for your questions. Sometimes on streams it's like we'll get three questions and then chat dies up a bit. This time we had more questions before the stream started than some streams get in total, which is absolutely amazing, and we love the enthusiasm. We are so happy you are all here with us. Explosion 1000, something I hope we don't see today, is asking, why do they start prop load this early? Wouldn't you want less time with a fully fueled rocket? That's a great question, because most launches we cover are a Falcon 9, which doesn't
Yep.
even see a drop of propellant until 38 minutes before launch, let alone
Yep.
9 hours, 7 minutes, and 20 seconds before launch. Max, I'll throw this over to you.
Yeah, so essentially, NASA's philosophy going back towards shuttle and, of course, with the Saturn V as well, they want the vehicle fueled and in a stable state when the astronauts get on board to smoothen out operations and decrease the amount of problems before, of course, crew is on board. And, of course, the crew are the precious cargo in question for today, and they are the reason the rocket exists in the first place. And then that is ultimately the rocket's purpose is to get that crew to where they need to go. Um, SLS can afford, obviously, to be filled out hours and hours and hours ahead, and then, of course, be in a stable state into stable replenish when the tanks are nearly full. And then, of course, then when the vehicle is deemed safe and stable, that is when the crew and the closeout teams will arrive at the vehicle and begin ingressing into Orion integrity. Um, so and that compared to Falcon 9, Falcon 9 is a load and go rocket, and of course the very first of its kind, because Falcon 9's fuel tanks on both the first and second stages don't hold any sort of a propellant or thermal protection of any sort of or any insulation. So of course, once and with the RP1 and the locks both being super chilled, making sure that they are at the right temperature is an incredibly critical thing for both the state of the tanks and the propellant staying as dense as possible to get the most performance out of Falcon 9 as possible. So yeah, and of course, obviously SLS is built with much older technology, with a lot older philosophy in terms of how NASA likes to operate their launch vehicles. It is the way it is, and of course, SLS does work like that. So. That is, I guess, a TLDR, not sort of TLDR. I mean, I know EJ can probably go on that for hours and hours and hours.
Mhm.
But yeah, essentially they want the rocket in a stable state before the crew gets anywhere near it.
Absolutely. Okay, let's have a look here. I think I'm going to go through the question queue again because the queue's long again. The queue's long again. We have Xavier Brown Racing saying they built the space launch system in Kerbal Space Program last night. Multiple failures before I got it, but that's how Kerbal goes. That's how Kerbal goes. Thank you for the support, as EJ will know.
Look,
uh,
in Kerbal, if you're not making stuff pop, you're not playing the game right.
Oh my god.
Jeff Rishoff, thank you for your support at $25 super. Max saying you asked so many of the questions we all wanted. By the way, as a past cryo delivery person, great explanation of the tank fill.
I certainly try my best. Thank you very much.
We have Rian's 3, from what I under with a not sure on the currency there, but thank you for your support nonetheless. From what I understand, the boosters and core have hold down clamps to the ML, but the ML is just held down by gravity. EJ, I don't think there's actually clamps. I think it's just sat there under its own gravity, unless I'm incorrect.
Yep. Yeah, that's about right. The launch umbilical tower in the mobile launcher is somewhere north of 8 million pounds. It's not going anywhere. They do have alignment dowels. There are 6 alignment dowels for 6 posts that hold up the mobile launcher. There's 3 on either side. Uh, Even SLS has actually some reinforcement built into its flame deflectors. If you actually look right at the bottom of your screen where you see smoke, well, not smoke, it's bleed coming from the engines. That's gaseous oxygen. There are actually additional posts on the 2 triangle-shaped flame deflectors down there. That's to hold up SLS because it is heavy. There's 6 posts that they're on the sides of the ML of the mobile launcher. The flame deflectors that they roll in there after they set the thing down on the pad are there for additional support. There are supports built into them because once again, SLS with those 5-segment solid rocket boosters is very, very heavy. That is right. What you're looking at right there, Chad, is the heaviest vehicle that NASA's ever rolled out of the VAB by a long shot.
Yep.
I believe the SRBs are between the 2 SRBs, it's 2,500 tons. Just the SRBs. They're fully fueled. Remember,
Yep.
it's yeah, it is a beast. But yeah, the mobile launcher is just sitting there. Gravity's holding it in place.
And that's actually a good point, EJ, with the weight of the SRBs and just how heavy SLS is in general in combination with mobile launcher ML1. That's actually why they had to recertify and upgrade CT2 or Crawler Transporter 2 to transport ML1 with SLS on top of it. And even when that core stage is empty, you take into account the super reinforced and larger mobile launch platform in combination with the actual launch tower and the vehicle on top of that with the 5-segment SRBs on either side of the core stage. You have an incredibly heavy payload to move. And of course, the old CT1 design, which is what CT1 still is now, cannot carry it with it in its current state and current performance levels. And that's why CT2 had to be upgraded. It is currently the largest and I think the heaviest. It's the heaviest self-powered vehicle in the world, as certified by the Guinness Book of World Records as of about maybe I think it was 3 years ago when that was announced. So, yeah, SLS is a very heavy vehicle even when it's empty.
We have got a question here from Methane Subcooler asking if Orion is Cygnus I'm gonna Roll back, roll back. We have a question
No,
here from
don't
Methane
roll back. Don't roll
Subcaller
back.
who is asking if Orion is Cygnus derived. I don't think it's Cygnus derived, but there is it's definitely it's the service module is derived from a different cargo transport vehicle which is no longer flying.
Orion's service module is derived from the European Automated Transfer Vehicle, the ATV. ATV was an ISS resupply vehicle. It flew 6 times to the ISS, and then that production line switched over to building European service modules instead. Yep. The difference, there's a big difference though between the service module on the ATV and the service module on Orion. Orion has a Service Propulsion System, or SPS, which is an Space Shuttle Orbiter Maneuvering System engine, an actual one that flew into space that is on the service module. So the SPS has because of the Service Propulsion System, the European service module has a little more kick behind it than the ATV's service module. The ATV didn't have one big rocket engine on the back because it was just going to the ISS. But yeah, it's not Cygnus derived. I get the joke. I get the reference acknowledged, but it's ATV derived. It is derived from a resupply vehicle. It is.
We have Dan becoming a Capcom member. Hopefully we see you in the Discord. Patrick Bob, who is always supporting the Raptor sides over on Starbase Live, gifting 50 Red Team memberships. 50 people is a lot of people, and that's 50 people who now get access to the membership area completely free of charge for an entire month. And, you know, I want this thing to launch today, but even if it doesn't launch today, there are 4 other attempts in this window that they can hit. They've got the end of April as well. This membership is going to cover that month, and believe me, there is going to be so much member content coming out of this launch, from the photos. There's probably going to be behind the scenes videos. There's going to be so much stuff coming out of this launch. So if you've just become a member, whether from Patrick Bob's incredible generosity or on your own dime, I mean, seriously, there is so much stuff to come. And even better, those 50 people now get access to the sneaky link, which gives you member access to the shop where the Artemis 2 patch, pin, and all of the other merch is available exclusively for members until the crew boards Orion. So when the crew is on board Orion, we'll be opening that up to the public, but that's in like 4 or 5 hours time. So if you want early access, membership is how you do it. Either you are very, very lucky and you get one from Patrick Bob, or you become a member for as little as 99 cents per month, and that'll give you exclusive sneaky access to the Artemis 2 merchandise on the shop there. So something to look out for. We are under 9 hours to go now, which is very, very, very exciting. Missy, thank you for becoming a PadRap member. And we have Mac, who is asking, how closely is the SLS core stage derived from the Space Shuttle external tank? I hate to keep throwing all of the questions to EJ, but all of the questions keep, you know, this is an EJ question. This has your name written all over it.
I mean, Max, if you want to take a stab at this, I wouldn't have any problem, but I can answer this one.
I mean, I can try and give a TLDR answer, and the answer is very. I mean, it's built using the same. I think isn't it built using the same jigs as they use to weld the ETs, EJ?
So, no, not really.
Oh, okay. Well,
so no. It's the same core diameter. It's an 8.4 meter core diameter, and it's similar. But for SLS, they did redo the tooling, Max. They the SLS is it's a I forget if it's 7000 series aluminum or aluminum lithium. I think it's aluminum lithium. That's a guess. Somebody correct me on that one. But they're using billet. They have billet aluminum that they machine stringers to. It is a rectangular ortho grid on the inside, and they basically mill out on the panels. They mill out the stringers. What are stringers, guys? Stringers are structural rigidity that's added to the inside of the tank so it can stay up, right? And then they stir weld them together. The big difference between the ET and the SLS core stage is that the SLS core stage components are made in a vertical friction stir welder. The external tanks didn't really do that, and the external tanks were assembled horizontally. Now we did have core stage 2. This one was assembled horizontally, but from now on they'll be assembling SLS core stages vertically in high bay 2 in the VAB. So it is similar, dude. The tooling, there is some tooling that carried over, but the external tank did not have billet stringers. They actually had riveted stringers, which is a little bit of a more old school design, even for the later versions of the external tank that came through the shuttle program. Um, but yeah, this is long story short. They used the billet method because it's more modern. The billet stringers, and the billet stringers are frankly way stronger. And with this configuration of this vehicle having the main propulsion system, the MPS down the bottom with 4 shuttle engines and carrying an upper stage on top, and Orion and the launch abort system, you're going to need a lot stronger core stage than you did with the external tank with the shuttle. So Max, like, you're not wrong that some of the tooling did carry over, but SLS is constructed in a different way because it's, well, it doesn't have a shuttle hanging on the side. That's the best way I can describe that. It doesn't have a shuttle on the side. It has the ICPS and the Orion up top. So because you put your payload and crew vehicle up top and not on the side, they had to change the design a little bit.
And very quickly to round this part of the stream out, we have Louis the Rocket Man. Will the chair make an appearance today? Exclamation mark chair. And Alan Perez. Do we know how the chair is doing today? Please, we need to know. Unfortunately, we do not have a live view inside of the vehicle assembly building today because we are focusing on Launch Complex 39B at the Kennedy Space Center. So we don't know how the chair is doing. The last time the chair was seen was on the rollout stream. Thoughts and prayers for the chair. Anyways, at this point in the stream, myself, Max, and Julia, we're going to take a break. We'll be back later on, don't worry. But in the meantime, I'm going to leave you in the... Oh, thanks, NASA. Really great timing for this. We've got actual data from the core stage. Okay, very quickly. Liquid oxygen, 29% filled. Liquid hydrogen, 30% filled. Things continuing to go. Again, keep an eye out. Liquid hydrogen is the big ticket item at this part of the countdown. Anyways, now we've got that addressed. Myself, Max, and Julia will be heading out for a bit. We will be back later on as we get closer to launch, so do not worry. But in the meantime, we'll be leaving you in the capable hands of Alice, Alex, and Ryan Webber. Also, EJ is sticking around. So we'll see you guys a little bit later, and you guys can take it away.
Good morning, or good afternoon, or whatever it is where you're watching from right now. It seems like we are a little bit ahead of schedule, which is definitely a very good sign. I'm your host, Alice Carruth, with you for the next couple of hours, and I am joined by the lovely Alex and Ryan, and we'll be talking through all things SLS and Artemis 2 mission over the next few hours as we continue on. Alex, have you been watching the stream so far? What would you think you've taken away thus far?
Well, so far so good. It looks like
Mm-hmm.
fast fill on both liquid oxygen and liquid hydrogen. Not heard anything about any potential leaks or anything like that, right? Like that's the main concern when they're starting liquid hydrogen fast fill. That's when they find these issues normally because that's when you actually have a lot of these hydrogen going through that quick disconnect line, right? Like that connection to the rocket. And right now, I have not heard anything. We've seen this graphic before a couple of minutes ago indicating up to 30% now of the hydrogen tank has been loaded on the core stage. And so far, so good. Let's hope it keeps being that way for the remainder of the count.
Absolutely. Ryan, have you been watching anything? Has anything stood out for you?
No, not really. Everything seems to be going just exactly as it's supposed to, which is always a good thing, especially when you got crewed launch. And I mean, any launch in general, it's always good to make sure things are going just the way you need to. But yeah, nothing's really stood out to me so far. And hi, everyone. How's it going?
It's hi, everyone. It's always the way to start it off. There's a lot going on at the moment. We're getting a live update from NASA right now. Let me just see if I can read that up on screen. It looks like we have got, we've officially woken up. How exciting. I did hear Julia talking about what was going on with the crew earlier, and I heard that they are having a bit of a lie-in this morning. They've got a long day. They were up 8 hours, which is what it is about now, ahead of launch. So, they are officially starting their day at 9:25 a.m. which is what we've just passed, and they'll be marking their final preparations for the historic Artemis 2 mission around the moon. So, good morning to the crew. I hope you had a good rest. I'm not sure how well I would sleep the night before I was launching to the moon. How would you guys feel waking up knowing that you're about to do something as historic as this?
Sleep? Wait, what? We were
What's
supposed
that?
to do that? We were supposed
Yeah,
to do that, Alice? Wait
I
a minute.
agree.
And just a reminder, like these people are not. So if this launches, they are not meant to go to sleep until like almost 3 a.m. Eastern. So it will nearly be like what 18 hours completely awake all the time.
Alex,
That's a long time when you're
I do believe
going into.
they're doing a split stream
Yeah,
schedule between the perigee raise burn. So yeah, like this is
and
gonna be
it's
a long day, right?
exactly. So they go to sleep around 8 hours, 8.5 hours into the mission. That should be around 3 a.m. Eastern, and then they'll wake up about 4 hours later for the perigee race burn, and then go to sleep again. So on top of being awake for a long time, then when they go to sleep, it's only for a few hours to wake up again, do another mission thing, right, and then go back to sleep. Ah, and this is like you know, really, really high energy thing where it's like, you gotta do all the preparations to get on the rocket and everything, and then you get on the rocket, you stay on your back for hours at a time, and yeah, and you still have many more hours to go once you're up there because they're not stopping. So
I wonder how
Alex,
difficult it's going to be to get their schedule going like that. Because
yeah.
if they're anything like me, when I go travel anywhere in the world, I don't sleep the night before because I know I've got to get up and I've got a million and one things to do. I can't imagine what it's like knowing you're going to be going off on such an important mission. They can't have slept overnight. They can't really have been as rested as you'd hope you'd be before all of this. Kind of amazing. Were you going to add something there?
I was just so. I mean, I was gonna add something, but we'll just keep talking about sleep. I don't know about you. I was waking up every hour on the hour, just like you were
Hmm.
saying. Like I'm like, oh, is it time yet?
Cool.
Oh, is it time yet? Oh, is it? Oh, I can sleep for
yeah,
Hey,
another
Gareth.
30 minutes. Oh,
How's it
if
oh
it's
going?
no.
difficult for us, the commentators, imagine the actual astronauts, right? It's like, who?
I did the same thing, EJ, as well last night. I was checking every so often. Is it still going? You know, when you've got such a long countdown, we started at what, 49 hours and 50 minutes ahead of launch. And there were so many hurdles to get through between then and now, and then, of course, before the launch itself. I kept thinking, is there going to be a hiccup? Is there going to be something that stops them or causes that pause? I don't want to say we're going for the S word, but you know there are they've put some contingencies in place, correct? That there could be some pauses in there. So I was very conscious of that overnight. EJ, do you remember what wiggle room there was for those pauses?
I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, I was watching the. You see, this is the problem when you've
Land
got.
holes?
Yes, they had a couple of planned
Yes.
holes, but they also had some wiggle rooms as well in case those overran. Is that correct, Alex?
Yeah, so they have three planned holds in the countdown. The first one has already passed. It's right before propellant load starts. And
Mhm.
then the second one is right after it ends. So once all of the tanks are, what's it called, stable replenishment. Basically, it's fully fueled, but of course, these are cryogenic propellants, right? So they are in boil
Huh.
off constantly. And so you're going to lose a little bit. And so that little bit, you're basically replenishing it constantly. And so you leave a little bit of very slow
Oh,
flow into the rocket, right? And so that's what's
Armadillo.
called stable replenishment, and you leave it there, and it's stable. The rocket is basically just sitting there, and so that is when that hold happens. That should be 5 hours and 10 minutes away from the opening of the window, and so that planned hold will be taken for about 1 hour and 10 minutes, and it will be used to prepare and stage and prepare everything basically for the crew to arrive to the launch pad. And so, the closeout crew will prepare with stage basically right outside. We'll go to the pad. We'll prepare the white room. The flight crew, the four crew members for this mission, will head out to the pad. And so that big hold in the countdown, it's prepared precisely to give some room
One,
time
two, one, two.
for that part of the mission. And then there's going to be another planned hold of about 30 minutes towards the end of the window, not the window, excuse me, towards the end of the countdown, where they leave 30 minutes just for the final preparations right before they pick up the count and do the final 10 minutes of that terminal count, which it happens really quickly. Trust me. During Artemis 1, it really flew by. And so that is one of the things that I really want to see happening, that we get down to that T minus 10 minute hold point, right? Like they go down to T minus 10 and then they hold for 30 minutes and then they go through all of the checkouts, they do the polls, and then they pull go. We count down from 10 minutes, and it's just, you know, it just flies off. It's really fast.
It is amazing, and it is amazing we've got to this point. I mean, I feel like this has been a long time coming, but we're here, and it's very, very exciting. Before we get into a few more things in the chat, I just wanted to say a big thank you to all the support that's coming in. Let's start with Neon Dragon 6. Thank you for becoming a Red Team member. We really appreciate it when we get people that become members with us. Then we're going to talk about Half a Homer 9949 has also become a Pad Rat member. Really exciting to see that coming in. Stillfinger 7 and Stillfinger 721 has become a Pad Rat member. We've also got a lot more coming in. It's great to see so many comments coming in as well in the chat, and we'll get through those. But I just want to say a big thank you to Dojo HNSO for becoming a Capcom member as well. We will get through all of these wonderful memberships and thank yous that are coming in on the chat as we go through today. If you have any questions for the team, please tag us in the chat at NASA Spaceflight or at NSF, and I'll do my best to get through those as much as possible. So let's recap where we're at the moment. We already know that we've started seeing some of the core stages begin propellant. Am I correct? It's the problem when it's early in the morning. I've not had enough caffeine. But I believe at this point it was supposed to be about L-8. We're going to be starting to get to the LH2 topping. So at this moment, it must be LH2 fast fill starting. Am I correct?
Yep.
And it looks like we're on time. Everything seems to be going well, which is very exciting.
Ooh, I got an update. They have started chill down for the ICPS hydrogen tank.
Oh,
So
wow.
the upper stage is going to be loaded soon as well. So they are loading the core stage, and now they are preparing for loading that little one up top there where that cone shaped orange cone, I guess, is located right up top. That's the liquid hydrogen of the ICPS stage, the interim cryogenic propulsion stage. So they're now chilling down the lines for that upper stage.
You know, Alex, I think it
Yes.
might be a good idea to point out to you, because I know a lot of people have watched. We probably have new people in chat here, and a lot of people that have watched NSF in the past or watched rocket launches in the past as general. And I think since we're really getting into fueling, fast fill and everything like that, I think it's a good idea to point out is this isn't. They don't fuel this thing like say Starship or Falcon 9. This is fueled a little bit more like Atlas 5, or even shuttle back in the days. They don't subchill the propellants and load them with the crew on board. They don't do that. As you can tell, the crew's not there yet.
Yeah.
We just talked about, they just woke up. They load this rocket up, and by the time the crew's out there, it's already loaded. Back like even from the Apollo days, they went out to a loaded rocket. Um, so it's a lot different like that, and not only that, they don't fill it nearly as fast either. They take their time to fill it, because I think the other part to that is trying to fill hydrogen that fast. Well, I don't know if that would be generally a good idea to fill it as fast as say SpaceX fills the methane tank on Starship.
It's also
Um,
very low density as well, so
yeah,
it takes some effort, basically. You would need
but
big pumps for that.
oh, yeah, a lot of power, big pumps, decent capacity, especially with something as low density yet. But I think it is a good idea to point out that they're loading the rocket right now. It'll definitely be loaded and ready to go by the time the crew is out there. And
Wrong way
it's
again.
it's more of the traditional way to do it, if that's a way to say it, at least in the past. Subcooling really wasn't a thing on rockets until SpaceX started doing it on Falcon 9. So thought I'd just point that out.
great context there. Thank you for that, Ryan. We're going to go into talking a bit about all the people that are out there in a minute, but I just wanted to get through a few more thank yous that have coming in. We've had a lot of support on the chat, and we really do appreciate it. Thank you to Rosimati, who's become a Red Team member. We always appreciate you guys when you join us and become members of us. Roger S. NSF has gifted 5 Red Team memberships. Go and grab those, guys. It's a really good opportunity to join us. And Poop Dude 42, loving this name, says he's given us a $10 super chat and said he wanted to thank us as he's now a current Orion engineer. He thanks NSF for inspiring me to reach my dreams. And if you want a good spot on the Banana River Causeway, let him know. Where is all the good places to go around here? Because it's difficult, isn't it? They're expecting, 400,000 visitors right now? I know Julia's been giving us some updates, and hopefully we'll get her back on the stream in a little bit. She's moving around to give us an idea of where to watch. We got anybody else on the ground who's able to let us know what it's like down there at the moment?
Last time we checked in with Julia, Alice, she was telling me that parking spots were getting to be a premium.
I bet.
And we're 8 hour 40 out from launch. It is going to get hectic. It's going to get real hectic down there.
It is crazy. And I just want to say to that guy who's come in with the super chat, Poop Dude 42, that's where my boss is watching from. She will be at Banana Creek today. So if you want to go say hi to Michelle Lucas, she'll be down there. She's currently on a helicopter ride around Kennedy Space Center, as you do the day before or the day of launch. Lucky, lucky lady. Yeah, as you do. So there are some incredible opportunities out there. I was going to say, if you're anywhere near any of it, I think you're going to feel the whole experience. I know there's a really good park in Titusville that I'm sure is starting to fill up. If you want to go over to Launch Park area, it's free. Just good luck with the parking right now. I'm sure it's kind of crazy. But hey, look, you're going to be part of history. This is quite an incredible experience. What a day to be part of this. How are you guys feeling? Are you feeling like you're playing part of history? I mean, AJ, you've been going for several hours now. You've got to be pumped up for what we're watching.
I don't have a suit on for no reason. I'm ready to go. I brought my Sunday best here.
Excellent.
I'm feeling good. They're into LH2 fast fill. I was pretty dang confident from a press conference that was held 2 days ago that we would get to this point, at least this far into the timeline. If you guys didn't hear that press conference, what they said, what NASA was saying is that where the LH2 umbilical connects into the vehicle in the main propulsion system, or the MPS at the bottom of the vehicle, they said they implemented a mechanism to reduce strain on the lines during rollout. I'm pretty sure NASA suspected that rollout back and forth from the pad was causing the seals to become unseated. Now, once again, we don't want to count our chickens before they hatch here, right? But they basically hung the lines that connect into the ground umbilical, not the ground umbilical carrier plate, the tail service mast umbilical carrier plate. No, not that one. We don't want to talk about that one. No. So they actually hung the lines that connect into the tail service mast umbilicals to prevent strain on the lines, which, if I had to guess, that's probably what was gacking the seals in previous versions of previous attempts for SLS, even going back all the way to Artemis 1. So we're pretty far into LH2 fast fill here, which means that worked, at least up until now, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, feeling pretty good here. This is Ryan. How are you feeling? I'm feeling great. This is good.
I'm feeling great about this. You know, EJ, when NASA said that they did that, I thought to myself, that's a SpaceX fix. That is something like SpaceX would do. Like, hey, we got this problem. We just keep moving. Why don't we just kind of like tie them off to the side? That is a SpaceX fix. It's a MacGyvered fix. Like, let's try this out, see if it works. And hey, if it works and you don't run into issues, then you do that for Artemis 3, 4, 5, and however long SLS is going to fly for. Just keep doing it,
Yeah. I mean, Ryan, the other thing is that what hosed the vehicle after wet dress rehearsal 2 was the helium seal on the ICPS umbilical. They could not actuate helium flow, to passivate the stage, and that's what caused them to roll back previously. They redesigned the entire thing and put it and put a new one on. So yeah,
It definitely
good stuff.
feels. I don't know if and I don't know if NASA from like maybe a couple of years ago would have done that. They probably would have just replaced it and kept going. But it does feel like NASA is getting back to that. They are still incredibly cautious. They're still watching all the safety margins, everything. It's NASA. Yeah, that's what NASA is. But it does feel like they are getting more into the feel again of coming up with fixes on the fly, testing them and implementing them. Since Jared started, it feels like it really does feel like he's reinvigorated a lot of the engineers that are there, plus the technicians, um, and kind of be like, hey, well, what if we just did this? You know,
Well, there's
rather
your
than
problem.
just
Why don't you
replace
just
it.
fix it? Yeah.
Yeah, there's your problem. Just fix it. You know, that's definitely what it feels like.
I
And
feel like that's just peak engineering, guys.
yeah,
So,
I it makes me confident about this. I know it's still liquid hydrogen and everything. We all know what liquid hydrogen is and fuels are. But I don't know. It makes me even more confident in this mission, um, and even more that they'll launch today. I think they'll go. Um, I think what was it? Chris said 60-40. I think it was on a Raptor side recently. I'm going to go with 70-30. I'll go with 70-30 today. I know it's still SLS and it's only the second launch, so you never know what can prop up. And NASA, of course, will not take any risks at all, especially not, they won't take any risks.
Understandably. Yeah.
But
Humans
I'm
involved.
confident.
And we're going to talk a bit about those humans and what they're going to be doing on that mission in a bit. I just wanted to say thank you to some of the support that's coming in on the chat. Big thank you to Chris Newbolt, who's become a Red Team member. It's always exciting to see when people become members. Stephen Peller has become a Pad Rat member. Thank you for that. And then we've got Niceable, who's become a Red Team member as well. And a big thank you to Mike Alpha Tango Sierra for gifting 50 Red Team memberships. Go and grab those guys while they're available. It's always very exciting to see that coming in on the support. We've got a few questions that come in. I think that we should kind of get through them, and it gives us a chance to talk a bit about the mission overall. I'm going to start off with this one that's come in from Anonymous. It asks, NSF, when will the crew reach the moon for the flyby? Let's talk a little bit about the mission trajectory. Why don't we start with you, Alex? Let's talk through what it is we're going to be expecting once they've launched today and what's going to happen following that.
Yeah, so right off the bat, right as they separate from the ICPS, so they first obviously get into a sort of low Earth orbit in quotes because it's not super duper low, but still sort of low Earth orbit. Then the ICPS does a burn, actually two burns. One of them is to raise a little bit the perigee because the initial orbit, once they separate from the core stage, is actually going to be so that the core stage is disposed of in the Pacific Ocean. Then the ICPS, so it raises a little bit the perigee, then does an apogee raise burn, and then the Orion spacecraft separates from the ICPS. Right off the bat, once they do that, they're going to be doing a rendezvous and proximity operation demonstration. Basically, the Orion will turn around and they will demonstrate that they can, manually navigate with Orion and being able to basically keep next to another object in orbit, which will be very useful in the future when they have to dock to a lander. Once that demonstration is ended, the Orion will separate itself a little bit away from the ICPS, from that upper stage, and it'll be in this sort of 24-hour orbit, right? So on flight day 2, what they'll do is they'll come around back to Earth and they'll burn for about 8 minutes on that European Service Module main engine, and that'll bring them up to translunar injection. That's the translunar injection burn, which should happen, if I'm not mistaken here, around 25 hours into the mission. And again, that'll last for about 8 minutes in total, and that'll push them out to lunar distances. Now, the flyby itself doesn't occur until flight day 6, and that should happen. So actually, the sphere of influence, basically the point where the gravity of the moon overcomes the gravity of the Earth, should actually happen earlier on flight day 5. And but flight day 6 will be when they do the flyby of the moon. Right now, the closest approach to the moon, if they launch today at the opening of the window, should be at 6:54 p.m. on April 6th, and that will be 6:54 p.m. Eastern time. And so there you go, a little bit of the trajectory that I was talking about. So yeah, the first part, that when they do the proximity operations, they do a little of a perigee race burn with the Orion, then a translunar injection to push all the way out there to the moon. They do a few corrections on the way. There are 3 scheduled trajectory correction burns, and then I'm waiting for the for the graphic.
Yeah, no. This is a
Yep,
great graphic, by the way. I think this is one that Ryan made, and it seems far better to scale than most of
and
them that I've
that's
seen.
the closest approach, Earth maximum distance, which happens by a 3 minute or so difference, and then they exit the moon sphere influence, and then they have also return trajectory corrections and whatnot as well to fine tune as they come back that trajectory to return to a splashdown in the Pacific Ocean about 9 days after the launch.
Very exciting. Let's hope that everything goes to plan and they continue with exactly the schedule that they're hoping to achieve. While all of that was going on, I believe we just missed the ICPS chill down. Ryan, what does that mean for the audience that are just tuning in?
Well, basically, it means that they're chilling down the tanks, especially the LH2 tank, to accept liquid hydrogen. I mean, liquid propellants are really cold, and you don't want to just take a room temperature
Uh,
tank. Well, maybe not room temperature in Florida, but outside temperature tank, and just flow liquid hydrogen or liquid oxygen into it right away. You don't want to do that. That's not usually good for metal and whatnot. Shock cool things like that. So what they do is they slowly bring the temperature down to as close as they can to the liquid temp, and then they start slowly filling it with liquid, which helps bring the temperature even more. And then they can start the fast fill once they get to that point. So you don't want a shock cool thing. It's the same thing for any rocket that
and
uses any cryogenic
Ryan,
propellants.
we
Yes.
should probably take down another item there in that timeline because they
Mhm.
have confirmed now ICPS is now on fast fill for the liquid hydrogen.
That's amazing. That's ahead of schedule, if I believe. When the schedules came out, they said that they were going to get to this point somewhere around the 7:55 mark, if I remember correctly. And we're still L minus 8 hours and 28 minutes before we see launch. So it's great to see that they're moving as quickly as they are.
Yeah, it's certainly nice to see everything is going. Things are going. We're gonna go with that. So.
always always good and to err on the positive side. We've got some more support coming in on the chat. Thank you so much for the super chat from Matt PD, who's come in with a €5 super chat, who's asked a really good question for the hams. Will there be any signals worth searching for, SSTV images, or a chance to talk to Orion at some point in the mission? Now, most of the astronauts are ham radio enthusiasts. Does anybody know if they've got an answer to this question that's come in from Matt? Taking the silences, not sure.
I'm not sure that you'll be able to contact the crew directly for like the ham radio operators out there. They're obviously doing public affairs events every day, every flight day.
They're rather
Um,
busy, aren't they?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's going to be a lot to do despite being in that capsule for 10 days, Alice. They, I will say this though, they are going to call the ISS.
Yes.
It'll be
Yeah,
the
can you
first
tell us a
time.
bit about that, EJ?
Yeah, during the mission they will call the ISS, so the ISS astronauts will talk to the Artemis 2 astronauts, and it'll be the first time that we've had a ship-to-ship communication like that ever. During the Apollo program, there was no space station, so they were communicating through a ship that had a ground tracking station built into it. I mean, on top, as it orbits around it for certain areas, right? So yeah, that'll be the first real ship-to-ship communications call from beyond low Earth orbit to low Earth orbit, which is actually pretty neat. But yeah, not sure about the hams. I'd have to go look.
Have you got to add to that, Alex?
Oh yeah, I was pointing out in the back channel that we actually know when that will happen, and it's currently scheduled to happen after the lunar flyby. So they'll be able to talk to the ISS about, that really interesting view out the window. It's like, huh, you got the Earth, right? I got the Earth and the Moon. Really close flyby of the Moon. But yeah, it's gonna be about 140 hours into the mission, so around April 7th, and that will be 2:29 Eastern, 2:29 p.m. Eastern. Sorry, that
Amazing.
day.
Who's
It's
the
going to be cool, really cool to see that happen, and I'm sure they'll be sharing transmissions with everybody. I mean, this whole launch, this whole mission is very much going to be shared amongst the people that are watching. So I think it's going to be very exciting to see. But before we get to a couple of more questions that are coming in, I want to say a big thank you to all the support that's coming in continuously on the chat. A big thank you to Armory0711, who's become a Red Team member. Also to Corey, that's become a Red Team member as well. Then we've got a couple more. Papa Hawkeye 4077 has become a flight engineer member, which is very exciting. Congratulations to you. And then we've got Michael Ingram, who's become a Red Team member as well. So big thank you to all that support. And we have got tons and tons of questions coming in on the chat. So I'm going to do my best to get through all of these as much as possible. Let's start with the first one. Let's go with this one here from Gwen, who's asked, if someone takes on ML2, will they buy a crawler from NASA to transport it? I think they're referring to what was going on last night in Max's incredible interview that he had with Jared Isaacman. Does anybody have an answer to that one?
EJ? I know you've
Yeah,
been.
this is a very EJ answer.
Very easy
definitely.
question.
Um, they would either buy time with Crawler Transporter 2 or lease Crawler Transporter 1. I kind of hope it's lease Crawler Transporter 1 because I don't like seeing CT1 sit out doing nothing. You know, the Crawler Transporter's natural habitat is to be moving rockets to the pad. We got to put that's its home. We got to put it on an airplane, send it home.
Very interesting to see what happens with this. I know that Jared Isaacman alluded to the fact that they're possibly going to take parts from ML2 as well. We'll see, I think, is kind of the answer to that question that's come in, but it's a really good one that came in from Gwen. Thank you for that. Let's go with another one that's just popped up. Static Fire 1387. NSF, what would NASA do in regards to a rescue mission to the moon if there was a problem with the vehicle en route to the moon? Not having another SLS ready to go seems it wouldn't be possible. Is that correct? Do we have anything that would be able to intercept or help right now?
Nope.
Alex?
That's
Yeah.
the short answer. EJ?
Nope.
Yeah,
You
he's right. No, they did actually talk about this in the L-1 day press conference. Once you get past the translunar injection burn, guys, the quickest way. Actually, there are abort contingencies post translunar injection burn, but it's only for I think it's like 6 hours after they shoot the moon. For reference, the moon is a 3-day coast out and 3 days back. They after those like first 6 hours, the quickest way home is not to get a rescue mission and try to rendezvous with the capsule or anything. The quickest way home is to just kind of wait it out. That is the quickest and probably the safest once you get past a certain point. But there are abort contingencies post translunar injection burn. Now I know if people are looking at that and go, "Wow, that's risky." Well, yeah, you're not kidding. Going to the moon is a risky endeavor. This is a factor of difficulty way higher than just going to low Earth orbit, right, Ryan?
Yeah, I was gonna say basically your abort profile it won't exactly look like Apollo 13, but it'll be like Apollo 13. You're free returning. You're coming right back. That's about the only way you're coming back at that point. If for some reason you can't correct, you can't you can't use the service module, you're just free returning back to Earth, and you're just gonna wait it out and come back home. You wouldn't be able to. The only craft in theory that could get up there to dock would be Crew Dragon. I don't think it can even I'm trying to remember the docking systems between the two off the top of my head. It's been a minute.
Well, it doesn't have a docking system in the
yeah.
first place.
Yep.
So
But you couldn't even do it, so you can't even dock
yeah.
with it. So that's out of the question. So your only option is to just free return and come home.
This question has
Yeah.
been addressed by the crew. They talked about it, I believe, ahead of time. So I think perhaps we've got the answer to that. We can get that queued up, please, Ryan.
It's definitely
Let's see, hang on.
One
we
thing
go.
that we have noticed is that as we go through all, this is a first flight, and not every procedure, to the best of our verification method, it's sound. It's 100% ready to go. We should be able to run that procedure without any misgivings. But we have found that this is a first flight, and basically every time we send a command to this vehicle, we take ownership of this vehicle. We have to think about what we are doing right now. So as we're running through these procedures, we have to be thinking at all times, every single step, what are we doing? What are we asking of the vehicle? And what is it telling us in response? And then we also have had to build a tremendous amount of communication and trust with our mission control team in Houston. 3 of us have flown on the International Space Station. We have operated with mission control for months, if not years of our lives. We know how this process works. But this mission in a small, highly dynamic spacecraft, it is different. And working through that process of how we're making decisions to move forward in this flight has been a really neat thing. And there's been give and take. There's been things that our flight directors, Jeff Radigan, Judd, and Rick, have given to us, and there have been things that we have given to them. And as we have built out this entire team, it just feels really good. We all know each other, and we're all ready to take on this challenge.
I'll throw out a couple salient examples of moments. I think the first that comes to mind is rendezvous and proximity operations, our test for that, our pod, we call it. And we've talked a lot about that, won't go into detail, but all of our simulators, we have ones that have very high fidelity volumetrically, we have ones that have very high fidelity flight software-wise, we have ones that have very high fidelity views out the window. We don't have a motion simulator, and I don't think even if we did, we could really know how the vehicle will respond. So that's when we got to test in space. Another that comes to mind is the flyby, looking at the moon. What will it actually look like through our eyes, through the windows of Orion? That is something we're all really looking forward to. And some of the other big ones are our life support systems. We will be venting the carbon dioxide that's removed from our breathing atmosphere inside the vehicle the entire mission. That was not done on Artemis 1, and it does have some effects on our navigation and guidance. So we'll have to get to space to really see how that affects the vehicle. And if I'm going to say a fourth, I'm going to go with the exercise device, because it is a very small spacecraft and not all of us are very small. And when one person exercises in there, it will be very interesting to see how that affects the rest of the spacecraft, what we can do while that's going on. Does it keep our solar arrays safe enough with all that dynamic motion? There's a lot to learn there. And so many things are new. Those are kind of the big ones that none of our simulators can adequately address on the ground.
We have a fantastic training team that has helped us to get to this point, but also I want to just put a plug in for training systems like simulators. One thing, it's not a procedure, but across all of the training, the ability to stop and restart a simulator or run it fast to get to a certain point, that has been something that has been a challenge and something I think we're going to have to really push on and do better in the future missions.
I think what we can take from that is that they've trained. They have trained for pretty much every eventuality, and this is, at the end of the day, a test flight. Things might happen that might not go to plan, but this crew has trained for every eventuality and hopes that it will go exactly the way they want it to. So it's good to know that they are able to talk about it and all the different eventualities that they've gone through, and great that the crews and the ground crews are so ready for this as well. Before we get into a couple of more questions, I do want to have a quick shout out to all the support that's coming in on the chat. Big thank you to Dave Skinman, who's become a PADRAP member. It's always very exciting when people join membership. And to Space Launch Enthusiast, who's upgraded to Capcom membership. Thank you so much to you guys for your continued support for us here and keeping us on the live stream today. For those that are just tuning in, we are counting down. We're just over 8 hours away from that first available launch window at 6:24 p.m. local time. It's a very exciting day for us all. We're very, very looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. We're going to get through all your questions that are coming in on the chat. If you've got a question for the team that's on right now, please tag us at NSF or at NASA Spaceflight, and we will do our best to get to those questions. Now, this question has come in a few times before. This is coming from Sergeant Vash, who's asked, do we know if it's possible to see the capsule with a telescope in transit to or from the moon or orbiting, assuming a night sky and sun hitting the capsule, of course? Alex, you and I covered this question a couple of times when we've talked about the countdown to launch and when we were doing the rollout as well. We concluded it might not necessarily be as easy as what we'd hope it would be. Is that correct?
Yeah, when closer to the Earth, it might be visible. Some objects, of course, of that size should be visible when it is close to the Earth in those early portions of the mission. But once it goes out all the way to lunar distances, there's no chance you'll be able to see it, even with some of the most powerful telescopes, right? Because it's not about it being faint, but it's all about it being small, right? And it just depends on what's the angle resolution of your telescope. So that's a very important thing to consider. And once it goes well out there, it's not going to be visible. And so, yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens in terms of who's going to be able to observe that, especially again when it's closer to the Earth in those first moments of the mission, and possibly also towards the end of the mission, right? Because it's coming back. It's not going out there forever. It's coming back around 9 days after launch, and so hopefully some people might be able to see it as well. Who knows?
Who knows? Yes. And that kind of leads into another good question that's come in from Flipper9385. They've asked, do they have onboard cameras so that we can get some live views from the lunar flyby? EJ, do you know anything about onboard cameras for this mission?
There will be onboard cameras. There will be PAO events from the capsule, talking to the crew almost every flight day. Now, one thing I'm not 100% sure on, but we did have it on Artemis 1, was GoPros on the outside of the vehicle. The Artemis 1 mission had a bunch of GoPros on the ends of the solar panels so Orion could take a selfie. It's funny because there wasn't any wiring to the GoPros. They were working off Wi-Fi from the capsule. And they worked pretty well. We got a lot of really, really nice pictures from those. I'm really, really hoping that this one has it too. I don't see why it wouldn't, but yeah, long story short, yes. NASA has said over the last couple of press conferences as we get closer to launch that they're going to try to stream as much of this as possible wherever the connection is permitting. It will be a little bit more challenging the further they get away from the moon, but they said if they got a picture, they will be streaming it. So it's good stuff.
Yeah, definitely good stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing some of that myself. We've just had a super chat question come in as well. Big thank you to Elo Carrero 9714 with a €5 super chat. They're asking, are you guys actually broadcasting from Cape Canaveral? If yes, how hard was it to get a spot to see the rocket? Waiting line must be ridiculous. That's a really good question. And we've had a few of those coming in.
Meanwhile,
go Alex.
I was going to say, meanwhile, we're showing here the press side alone.
Yep.
Timing.
It's a very good time in there.
We do have crew on the ground from Cape Canaveral, and my understanding, Julia just gave us an update in the chat a little while ago. She has said that the traffic is flowing really well at the moment, but the parking spaces are starting to fill up. If you haven't found something by noon today, I think she basically said, good luck. Which is not surprising, really, is it? A lot of people have decided to come out and watch this launch. It's a very exciting day for everybody. I mean, a lot of people have worked on this project, not let alone those that are living in the area and people that have traveled in for it. I know certainly lots of people that have come in for it, but at the moment, some of our team are remote and able to give the commentary like we're doing right now, and some of those guys are on the ground and giving these great live feeds. So big thank you to all the teams that are working the cameras for us on the ground. It's going to be a busy, long day for them, isn't it, really? Because we're still 8 hours away from that countdown clock right now. A lot to get through. So thank you for those questions that are coming in. Keep your questions coming into the chat and tag us at NSF or at NASA Spaceflight, and we will do our best to address them as quickly as we can, and we'll get through them as much as possible. We've had another good question coming in about what the crew is getting up to right now. This one's come in from Rollsy Boy, who's asked, will the crew be playing the pre-flight card game like they do with other human spaceflight missions? Ryan, have you got any idea what the crew is up to right now?
Well, I mean, they only woke up a little while ago, so they're going
Yeah.
through their yeah. I don't know what they're gonna. I don't know what their tradition is off the top of my head. I bet every crew has one, whether it's ISS crew or Moon crew. Although we haven't had a crew going to the moon in a bit, to say the least. Um, but yeah, it'll. I can only imagine they have they definitely have their traditions to play stuff. So
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure
they have
that.
a card game where
Go,
they,
Alex.
yeah, where they sort of play. I think for other missions, especially Crew Dragon missions, I think they do it after they suit up. I'm not sure about this one in particular because it might be a little bit too bulky. The Orion Crew survival system, I think it's called, right? And so it's a bit more bulky. It's the usual, traditional pumpkin suit as they call it. And so I have no idea if it is after or before the suit up, but it's around that point. And I think it goes until the commander loses, and then they'll be able to walk out. I think that's the rule of the game, that the commander has to lose in order to get to that point.
I
I
love that.
think I think Julia knows a little bit better, but yeah.
We'll get to Julia when she comes back on in a couple of hours. She's taking a bit of a rest time. We're doing our best to make sure everybody's got a bit of downtime to move about and do what they need to do while
Yeah.
we're streaming for as many hours as we are today. Before I get to another couple of questions, a big thank you to Bob Fillmore that's come in with 5 Red Team memberships that he's gifted. It's always great to see that kind of support coming in on the chat. And Papa Hawkeye 4077 has got a really good dad joke for us. Why did Mickey Mouse go to outer space? He was looking for Pluto. Boom, boom. Big thank you for that super chat of $5. It's always great to have a silly dad joke coming in the mornings to keep us laughing and keep us going. While we take a moment to breathe, we are coming up to that L minus 8 hours and just under 10 minutes now until we get the launch. It's really good to see that they are doing things ahead of time. With the schedule at the moment, we are looking at, well, we are ahead of what they were expecting us to be at this point, but it's the core stage LH2 topping was what they originally thought it was going to be at this point. Do we know if it's a good sign that they're ahead of schedule at this point? What do you think, EJ?
I would say being up on the timeline right now, Alice, is not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That's really good for the spaceflight business. So
Always
yeah,
a positive sign, should we say?
yep, absolutely. It's better to be preemptive with this stuff. Better to be ahead. We can
Absolutely.
see the LOX vent there on the core stage going.
We've got a couple of questions about those. I figure EJ would be a really good person to answer about that. We've got this one coming from William, who's asked, can you explain the motor part of the SRBs? How does it flow to the propellant? Also, why are there the SRBs that cannot be stopped once they start? Could you explain it a little bit for us, EJ?
Yeah, sure. So solid rocket boosters are essentially a big tube. It's like the internet, it's just a big tube.